1, 2, 3, and then we can start. Okay. So I'm reading each sentence, and we will see whether it's clear. So, what is the situation? Arjuna he becomes nervous. My God, how can I kill my own grandfather, my own guru? Impossible. And the consequences will be absolutely calamitous. I will be without my family, and there will be the war will destroy everything. The women will get completely corrupted, and there will be Varna Sankara and everything. So I refuse to fight. And it's a reaction that he has in his body, his vital, and even his mind. Mind gives all sorts of arguments. So this is the situation. And he says, I will not fight. But at the same time, he realizes that it is a weakness in him because he is a Kshatriya. And he says that I will listen to whatever you say. You guide me. Shadhimam. He says, I'll give me guidance. So now the answer of the teacher. What does the teacher tell him? The answer of the teacher proceeds upon two different lines, not one. He doesn't tell him, get up and fight. He gives him arguments and he explains many things. So, first, a brief reply founded upon the highest ideals of the general Aryan culture in which Arjuna has been educated. Secondly, another and larger founded on a more intimate knowledge. In other words, Swami is using different words, but what his meaning is that he gives him a social answer first, something which is practical in the physical world, and then he also gives him a spiritual answer that what he is doing is wrong. Both in the social structure, as a Kshatriya, what you are doing is wrong, and also spiritually also you are wrong, you are not right. So there is the two different lines. If you want the upper reason and the lower reason. So this is what it is. Then, opening into the second one, more intimate knowledge is a spiritual knowledge, opening into deeper truths of our being, which is the real starting point of the teaching of the Gita. Because there he tells you that what you are killing, you think that killing is something fundamentally permanent. No, not at all. You are only, the body is disappearing, but the soul doesn't disappear. So your idea that these people will be destroyed forever is not right. So that's what he explains. That's why he goes into the immortality of the soul, the continued rebirth, all these things he gives, which is the starting point of the Gita's teaching. Okay, so I read the next sentence. The first answer relies on the philosophic and moral conceptions of the Vedantic philosophy and the social idea of duty and honor, which form the ethical basis of Aryan society. Okay, so, very clearly, the Vedantic philosophy and the social idea of duty and honor. So, what is the Vedantic philosophy? Here is referring to the four caste systems. Okay, it is Vedantic philosophy. There is a great truth to it, but it has been completely misinterpreted in India. Okay, so the Vedantic philosophy and also the social idea of duty. The duty of the Brahmin, the duty of the Kshatriya, the duty of the Vaishya, and the duty of the Shudra. The social idea of duty and honor, which form the ethical basis of Aryan society. Ethical means moral, not spiritual, moral. So at the lower end, he gives him arguments. Okay? The spiritual will come later on. Arjuna has sought to justify his refusal on ethical and rational grounds. We know very well that he says that it's impossible for me to kill. Killing is wrong. How can I kill? And also, the result of that will be very, very calamitous, as I said. How can I enjoy the kingdom when I know that I have killed people? My enjoyment will be blood-stained. Okay? Rudhira Dagdha, is it? So, Arjuna has sought to justify his refusal on ethical and rational grounds. So, ethical is moral, and rational is the pure mind, okay, with convincing arguments. So he thinks, but he has merely cloaked, he has merely cloaked by words of apparent rationality the revolt of his ignorant and unchastened emotions. He thinks he's being rational, but he's just covering up all that, giving arguments for his unchastened emotions. This is what we all do when we have desires, and even somewhere we know that our desire is not right, yet we justify it. Tarika has come on the line, so we'll do exactly what we say.
Good morning, Rangada.
Good morning, Tarika. We are going to sing happy birthday to you. Okay? One, two,
Happy
three.
birthday
Happy
to you.
birthday to you.
Birthday to you. Happy
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 birthday
birthday.
to
birthday to you.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday,
birthday.
dear Tarika.
Thank you.
Hope you have a wonderful, progressive day here and life.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yasmin. Thank
Tarika.
you. Yeah. Thank you, Rangada. Thank you,
No,
It's
everyone.
like going,
it was
Rangada, it's like going back to kindergarten.
Yes.
it was Pallavi and Yasmin's idea to sing to you.
It's very nice. Really going back to kindergarten days.
So that set the a beautiful tone for the rest of the day.
Hmm.
Okay.
Sorry
Tarika,
for being late. Yeah. Sorry for being late. Yeah.
no problem at all. So we are in the uh, creed of the Aryan fighter, and
Yeah.
we are in the the paragraph which says answer of the teacher.
Answer of the teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, and we are in the middle of it. The so Arjuna has sought to justify his refusal. We are reading from there. Okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
you get the text and we'll follow. So they say, although he is using arguments and all that, actually it is his vital that is actually conditioning him. He has become nervous and he feels that he has to give arguments, and he's giving rational arguments actually to only to cover up his emotional reaction. We all do that. We always use our reason to justify the uh, vital reactions. The mind has really no control over the vital. The vital is the strongest element in man. And when you have a desire or something, you are pushed to satisfy it. And you give yourself all sorts of arguments, okay, to convince yourself that this is quite right, what I'm doing. It goes so far as even to justify your own anger to people. Okay. When you do something, you justify it and say, oh, naturally I have to do that. They use 100,000 arguments. So this is what Srimati is saying. Arjuna is actually, he is determined by his emotional and physical nervous reactions, but he is giving arguments. Srimati is using the words, he has merely cloaked by words of apparent rationality the revolt of his ignorant and unchastened emotions. Unchastened, impure. He has spoken of the physical life and the death of the body as if these were the primary realities. The physical reality is, no, sorry, the physical life is not a primary reality. It is a reality, but it's a secondary reality. As we keep on saying, you and your photograph. You are the first reality, and your photograph is the second reality. So, in the spiritual field, what is your body mind life? It's a photograph. Which is the primary reality? Your soul. That is the one that lasts forever. Your body mind life does not last forever at all. It's like a photograph which can be torn and thrown away. Okay? Your body mind life. So he is thinking that the body mind life is the primary reality. He is completely wrong. So Krishna will tell him that bodies are destructible and the soul is not destructible. That's how it starts. So he has spoken of the physical life and the death of the body as if these were the primary realities. They are not. Note carefully, Srimad uses the word primary reality. He is not saying like the ascetic that they are not realities at all. He is saying they are primary realities. Arjuna is thinking they are actually secondary realities. But they have no such essential value to the sage and the thinker. The one who sees the spiritual truths, they know that the soul is immortal and not the body, mind, life. The sorrow for the bodily death of his friends and kindred relatives and friends. There are so many who are fighting on the other side who are not related to him, but they are friends. Is a grief to which wisdom and true knowledge of life lend no sanction. When you are absolutely, you have knowledge, you know that all these arguments of the vital are not at all valid, lend no sanction. The enlightened man does not mourn either for the living or the dead, for he knows that suffering and death are merely incidents in the history of the soul. So this is very important, and I'll make a slight diversion. It may be valid, and some of you may not find it valid, but it is valid, I think. In the ashram, when there is death, normally those who in the outside world, they actually feel, they start crying and howling and all that. And even if you don't feel like crying and howling, you actually pay people to come, uh, professional mourners. It's true, huh? They come and sit and start going on howling.
In Rajasthan, it is a very much, it is a tradition in Rajasthan. They name a Rudali. There was a movie also in the name Rudali.
Rudali, right, you are. Okay. So, actually what happened, I'll give you a very interesting incident. Okay, we used to live somewhere near the State Bank, and the neighbors were Marwadis, okay. So, when the father died, there was quite silence. But when my sister went inside to pay her respects to the departed soul, the wife started crying loudly. And then she asked him, "But you were not crying just now. Why are you suddenly crying?" The answer was very strange, and it's absolutely right what I'm telling you. Huh? He says, "Aisa karna padta hai." So you have to show even if you are not, you have to do so. So this is what happens in the ashram. We are absolutely calm, quiet. Nobody is asked. Nobody. You may feel sorry, but you don't cry loudly and all that. You maintain a silence. Okay, you maintain a dignified silence. And sometimes what happens when the servants come in, they think that it's a duty to start howling and crying. And they are quickly ushered out of the room and told to shut up. Okay, so partly we know the reality that there is no real death. So the sorrow for the bodily death of his friends and kindred is a grief to which wisdom and true knowledge of life lend no sanction. The enlightened man does not mourn either for the living or the dead, for he knows that suffering and death are merely incidents in the history of the soul. Now, the history of the soul has got many chapters. Each life is a chapter, and it goes on. And that history has no end. It has no beginning and no end. The soul is immortal. Then, Shando's categorical statement and a very short sentence: the soul, not the body, is a reality. The body is a temporal reality, but the soul is an eternal reality. All these kings of men, for whose approaching death he mourns, have lived before, and they will live again in a human body. For as the soul passes physically through childhood and youth and age, so it passes on to the changing of the body. These are the shlokas are the chapter 2, verse 20. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin na bhutva bhavita va na bhutya. That's it.
अजो नित्य शाश्वतो यम पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
Yes, that's right. This is what I'm translating into English.
And the other one is also there, no? Dehi nosmin yatha dehe. That also is the same thing.
Dehe kaumaram yovanam jara. Tata dehantara prapti dhiras
Dhirastatra na muhyati.
yati. That's right. Okay. So, the wise man does not grieve. That's what Sindhu is saying. He is translating, but these are no official translations. So we have a book, the message of the Gita, in which Anil Baran has done the translations. But as far as possible, he has used Sri Aurobindo words. But Sri Aurobindo has not translated officially, okay, their Gita. He has not translated fully. He has translated the Upanishads, he has translated many other things also, Ramayana, parts of Ramayana and Mahabharata, but not the
So,
Gita.
Ranganath, the
Yeah.
essays on the Gita was written before the Anil Baran's translation. Like he has, as you say, that
Yes.
because mostly he is using
Yes.
these words, no?
It was written in the Arya,
Hmm.
from, yeah, from 1914 to 1921, 6 years. So it
Yeah.
was at that time when the mother had come first and then she went away. And then in mother's absence, the Arya was propagated. By the way, you should know that the Arya was quite well received in India. Huh? Swamdo says in one place that the Arya paid for itself. It was not a loss making thing. Okay, many
Hmm.
the Arya was well received. They used to print 1,000 copies, and it went all over India. And you know where it used to be printed? In the archives building below. There used to be a small press, and not modern press, a very small press. 3, 4 pages at a time they used to print.
Hmm.
That was a long time back. Okay, so this is what he's saying. The wise man does not grieve for this. Just as the soul passes physically through childhood, age and youth and age, so it passes on to the changing of the body. The calm and wise mind, the dhira, the thinker, who looks upon life steadily, not excitedly and vitally, does not allow himself to be disturbed and blinded by his sensations and emotions, is not deceived by material appearances. He does not allow the clamor of his blood and his nerves and his heart to cloud his judgment or to contradict his knowledge. He looks beyond the apparent facts of the life of the body and senses to the real fact of his being and rises beyond the emotional and physical desires. There you are, desires of the ignorant nature to the true and only aim of human existence. So, you must let the mind rule you and not your emotional and your sensational part. That's what Swami is saying. It's a mental man. If you remember in the synthesis, in the early chapters, he says that there are three choices that man has: a bodily life, a mental life, and the spiritual life. So even the mental life does not allow the vital to have the last say. The mind has a last say. But normally it doesn't work very well. Still, it's much better than the bodily life, the one who lives mostly in his body and his body. Okay, so he has said that he looks beyond the apparent facts of the life of the body and senses to the real fact of his being. And what is the real fact? That's the next paragraph. So we can read the next paragraph.
Yeah.
Sarika,
What is the meaning of the word dhira? Dhira.
Dhira, yeah.
What does it mean?
Dhira is one who is steady.
Steady.
Yeah, the one who is steady and does not allow himself to be, he does not tremble, he does not shake. He is absolutely firmly placed in his reason. Dhira. He is steady. He is not buffeted by the wind. Even in the most calamitous situations, he is calm and quiet and he is firmly immovable. That's what dhira. Yeah. We have many dhir. There used to be a gentleman here called Dheer.
Hmm.
So Dhira is very clear, na? It actually, the root is Dha. Dha means to settle down firmly, okay? To place something down, Dha. Okay?
Is it not Dhri?
Oh, sorry,
Is
you
it?
are right. The root is Dhri. You are right, you are right. Okay, Dha also has the same meaning, but you are right, absolutely right. Dhri. Dhri is the word. I'm sorry. You are quite. Of course, there is a relation between the two, but you are absolutely right. Tarika, birthday girl. Your Sanskrit is really good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
Dhri.
shall I read? Hmm.
Yes, please do that.
Uh, what is that real fact, that highest aim, this, that human life and death, repeated through the aeons in the great cycles of the world, are only a long progress by which the human being prepares and makes himself fit for immortality? And how shall he prepare himself? Who is the man that is fit? The man who rises above the conception of himself as a life and a body, who does not accept the material and sensational touches of the world at their own value, or at the value which the physical man attaches to them, who knows himself and all as souls, learns himself to live in his soul and not in his body, and deals with others too as souls and not as mere physical beings. For by immortality is meant not the survival of death, that is already given to every creature born with a mind, but the transcendence of life and death. It means that ascension by which man ceases to live as a mind informed body and lives at last as a spirit and in the spirit. Whoever is subject to grief and sorrow, a slave to the sensations and emotions, occupied by the touches of things transient, cannot become fit for immortality. These things must be borne until they are conquered, till they can give no pain to the liberated man, till he is able to receive all the material happenings of the world, whether joyful or sorrowful, with a wise and calm equality, even as the tranquil eternal spirit secret within us receives them. To be disturbed by sorrow and horror, as Arjuna has been disturbed, to be deflected by them from the path that has to be travelled, to be overcome by self pity and intolerance of sorrow, and recoil from the unavoidable and trivial circumstance of the death of the body. This is Anaryan ignorance. It is not the way of the Aryan climbing in calm strength towards the immortal life.
Okay, so this is the real fact. He is explaining this is the second answer. The first answer was you are a Kshatriya and you have to fulfill your duty. But now he is giving you the second answer, which is a spiritual answer. What is that real fact, that highest aim? Note that that highest aim is starting with a lowercase t. This is Srimdo style, which nobody does. Okay, it is Srimdo who does. Why? Because it's a continuation of the same question. So grammatically, he is breaking the rule, but it makes logical sense. He is asking two questions, but they are all really part of the same question. What is that real fact? What is that highest aim? This he is answering now. This, that human life and death repeated through the eons in the great cycles of the world are only a long progress by which the human being prepares and makes himself fit for immortality. So, right in the beginning, the theory of reincarnation has been established. That is the most important thing. Like the Western world thinks that there is only one life and you have to enjoy to the best of your capacity or do whatever, it is meaningless. It's not that. The soul is immortal and takes birth again and again in new bodies and new lives. Okay, so, and new minds also. make himself, and so he has to slowly progress, like you come to the kindergarten and then you go to school and then you go to knowledge, exactly in the same way, in a graded series of lives. Only here in kindergarten to knowledge is only about 10 or 11, 15 years maybe, but there are lakhs of lives. You have to prepare yourself. Then, how shall he prepare himself? So, he has to prepare himself for immortality. The journey from ignorance to knowledge is through many lives. And that also is very interesting. Why should there be many lives? That's very interesting also. And Swamdar explained very interestingly in the Life Divine. We'll just touch upon it briefly. Okay? He says that in one life, suppose you are a doctor, we have got so many doctors on the panel here. So suppose you are a doctor, what do you get? You, if you are really, you get the idea of sympathy for the suffering, then you know how to cure things, you know the process of how to solve problems. So this is what you carry with you in your life. But you know nothing about engineering. So next life, you may go into engineering. In other words, the capacities for development in the physical world are infinite. And in one life, you can't get all these capacities. So you are given a chance to, each life, you are allowed to or given the chance to develop one capacity. And then slowly, slowly over 1 lakh lives, you have developed 1 lakh capacities. And then there is perfection in the soul. So that is the reason why there is rebirth again and again. And you can't do that in one life. So that's, he explains this in the Life Divine elsewhere. So briefly, that's a rationality for the development of the soul. Okay. Now, so how does the man make himself fit? So there is answer. And how shall he prepare himself? Who is the man that is fit? Again, the two questions, but part of the same question. So, who is again no capital letter for W, but a lowercase. This is, it's interesting to note Srimdo's use of words and the way he breaks the rules of grammar. Okay, so who is that man who is fit? So Srimdo is now answering. The man who rises above the conception of himself as a body and life. The moment you think that you are the body and life, you are in ignorance. And you have to go from ignorance to knowledge. And that can't be done in one life. It has to be done through many lives. So, the identification with body, mind, life is ignorance, necessarily. Okay? So, the man who rises above the conception of himself as a life and a body, who does not accept the material and sensational touches of the world at their own value or at the value which the physical man attaches to them, who knows himself and all as souls, learns himself to live in his soul and not in his body, and deals with others too as souls and not as mere physical beings. So that doesn't come very easily. There are 3 stages. 1, you first know that you are body, mind, life. You are in ignorance. Next, if you have to go to the mental level, you know theoretically that you are not the body, mind, life. Like now, all of us know that our body, mind, life is something that will go away, but we are really the soul. But do we know the soul? No. So that's a 3rd level. You have to know what your soul is, and then you are in knowledge and not in ignorance. So this is what Swamdar is saying. He has to learn himself to live in his soul and not in his body, and deal with others too as souls and not as mere physical beings. And when does he know this? When he is in a cosmic consciousness. Because when he is in a cosmic consciousness, he is identified with his soul, but he sees the others also as souls. He sees their soul and not their body, mind, life. So he realizes that there is a connection between everything in the physical world. Okay, that's it.
Rangana,
Yeah.
Rangana.
Tell me.
Then the soul doesn't need to come back in the body after that cosmic consciousness realization.
Yeah. You are asking a very interesting question. The soul has a choice. Yeah? And Swamdar has dealt with this also. So since you are asking the question, I'll tell you, it depends on the individual soul. Each individual soul has got its own destiny. The Buddhistic man, his soul, he disappears into the infinite. It's, I have come, the river is an individual flow of water and it has come from the sea by evaporation. So he has come from the highest infinite and now he goes back into the infinite and dissolves himself. So the Buddhistic aim in life is to remove your body, mind, life, remove also your ego, but remove also the true individual and disappear into the infinite. The soul has that choice. But the soul also has a choice to live in the subtle worlds for as long as it wants. That's the reason why mother and children are still in the subtle world. They have not dissolved their true individuality. They have not. Okay. Then, if you are a Sri Aurobindonian, then you will say that no, I want to go back. I want to take birth again in the physical world, but this time I will not be in ignorance. I will not be subject to my senses and my body, but I will be master of my body and senses. So these are the very roughly three choices that the soul has. Okay? So it depends on the individual soul. There is nothing right or wrong about it. It depends on the soul, what they want. Everything
But
is okay.
that too is predestined. Like what the soul will choose also is predestined. No, you say everything is I mean, the soul chooses. That is by destiny or by its free will.
Okay, okay. Pallu, remember one thing. The soul always is free. But the body, mind, life, there is a destiny.
So no, when the soul chooses to come back, so it
It
is
is
of its own free will.
it's in freedom. It is already in mukti. The fate, okay, the destiny is for the body, mind, life, not for the soul. But so long as the soul is identified with body, mind, life, it's a prisoner and the law of karma applies to it. But the moment it comes out permanently, out of the body, mind, life, the law of karma does not operate for it anymore. It is free. So the choice is free at that time. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. But remember one thing, when the soul has an experience of the higher planes of consciousness and mukti and liberation, it knows that it is not the body, mind, life. That is not the end of the journey for it, because it must be permanently, it must realize that it is a soul, not as an experience. There is a difference between experience and permanent realization.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, that's
I
right.
have a query.
Yeah, tell me.
You know, once one is open to one's psychic being, and the psychic being is fully evolved, and it
Yes.
no longer needs to come back on earth for its progress, then
Okay.
it can either be in psychic bliss, or if it wants, it tells the divine, you want me to go down, I shall go down and do some work for you. Is my thinking wrong? But this is what I've read somewhere in Mother's Conversations.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right. There is a difference between the psychic being and the self. Keep that also in mind. The liberation comes not from the realization of the psychic being, but from the realization of the self. You have to go vertically up. When you go into and realize your soul, there is a great purification of the body, mind, life, but there need not necessarily be a liberation. The liberation comes only in the vertical planes of consciousness when you go up. Knowledge and liberation comes when you go to the self. You go outside your body, mind, life. When you go and realize your psychic being, then there is devotion and intimacy with the divine. And that's a saint. But he is not a jnani, not necessarily. But the soul has a choice. It can join with the self. Syandu says that it has a choice. But normally, the bhakta is so happy with his intimacy with the divine and his love for the divine that he doesn't care for knowledge. So that is what is called the sadharmya mukti. So that is a mukti, but it's a sadharmi mukti. Okay, it's not the liberation. It's not the sayujya mukti. The sayujya mukti, you go to the vertically up into the higher planes of consciousness, the spiritual planes. Swayambhav does not consider the psychic liberation as the spiritual. It's a question of words. Don't get confused. It's just a question of nomenclature. He uses the word spiritual in the vertical planes. Okay, so, but the real the knowledge has to come, and that's the reason why Sridhar goes on stressing that all are necessary. First of all, there should be the psychic realization, psychic transformation. When you know the psychic, then many of the body, mind, life impurities are removed. Then you get knowledge. You go to the higher level, that's a spiritual transformation. Now you get knowledge, and also light is a great purifier. The light that enters into the mind, jnana. Jnana is one of the greatest of purifiers. And then finally, even then you don't have the capacity to completely control your body, mind, life. You have to go to the third level. So this is a triple transformation of Sridhar's life. Okay? So that's what is the, as Sridhar puts it. So we come back to our text. So who is the man who is fit for immortality? Who is that man who is fit? The man who rises above the concept of himself as a life and body, who does not accept the material and sensational touches of the world. Same is using the word material and sensational touches. The Gita uses the word bahya sparsha. Okay? And the bahya sparsha can be physical, it can be vital. When someone praises you or insults you, it's a touch from the outside world, or even ideas. Sometimes the ideas can be very attractive and sometimes they can be very repulsive. So all these are the bahya sparsha. So if they're using the word material and sensational touches of the world at their own value or at the value which the physical man attaches to them. So, who knows himself and all his souls, learns himself to live in his soul and not his body, and deals with others to his souls and not mere physical beings. Now there is very interesting next sentence. For by immortality is meant not the survival of death. So, I was quite puzzled because survival of death means normally it would mean that death is surviving. But the word of, if you look at the dictionary, sometimes you use the word he is free of cancer. Okay, that means actually he is liberated from the cancer. So survival of death, from death, from the meaning of from in that sense. So I never thought of checking the word of in the dictionary, but then it really puzzled me. Survival of death. Okay, survival of something means it is still existing. Normally it means that. But the word of has got several meanings. It can also mean from. Okay.
But this also is confusing, no? Immortality is what we say free of death, no?
That's right.
But he says it is not.
No, he is not saying that at all. He is saying survival of death means survival from death.
Yes, from death, but we considered immortality as survival from death, right? But he's saying it is not. Is meant not the survival of death.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. You need to understand it the right way. Yeah. That is already given to every creature born with a mind. Okay. So that means the concept of reincarnation is there. But the transcendence of life and death, it's a transcendence of life and death. It means that ascension by which man ceases to live as a mind-informed body. Now note the word informed. Going into the form. That's what Sridhar used the word inform in that sense. Not in the sense of information. Okay? Not the sense of knowledge in that sense. In a mind-informed body. His mind is put into the body. It goes into the form of the body and lives at last as a spirit and in the spirit. He himself is a spirit and in the spirit. What does it mean? As a spirit means his soul, he realizes, is divine, and in the spirit, the universal divine presence. That's it. First of all, he is himself a soul, and he is also living in the infinite soul. It's like the river, okay, which is the pure water. But when it comes and mixes with the sea, it lives, it is becoming part of this spirit, part of the sea. So, as a soul, as a spirit, and in the spirit. The image I gave you of the river and the sea is not very good because this river is sweet water and the sea is salt water. But here, both are sweet. The individual soul is sweet and the universal spirit also is sweet. Okay. Whoever is... Yeah, tell me.
No, about this sentence, no, a little bit confusion. Like I'm not very clear about by immortality is meant not the survival of death. If we take it as of itself,
Okay. Yeah.
not from, that is already given to every creature born with a mind. So
Yeah.
every creature born with a mind is the human being. No, only we human beings, they have the mind.
That's right.
So it is whoever is born, the survival of death is there. Whoever is born is destined to die. So the death is surviving actually till you are human. Till you come to the human body, the death is surviving. It means it is, you are sure to die. Whoever is born with a human mind is going to die.
That is already given to every creature born with a mind. Yeah, that's right. So you can, I mean, you have to understand it in the right way. When you have a mind, then you have also, you can have the knowledge that you are not the body, mind, life. You are only a body and a life, then you don't have that knowledge that you are, you can survive after death. You don't have that knowledge. That's what it meant. Okay. But
the transcendence of life and death, this is what we are aiming at.
That's right.
But till you are born as a human being, death is going to survive. It is whoever is born as human, the death is certain for them. They are going to die.
Yeah,
but we are looking at the transcendence of life and death.
Yeah, but look at the sentence in the beginning also. For by immortality is meant not the survival of death. Okay? By immortality is not meant the survival of death. That is already given to every creature.
How it is given to everyone, survival of death? No, it is not.
No, Pallu, what I'm saying is that survival of death is there whenever you are born as a human, the death is certain.
Yeah.
Death is certain.
Yes, that is what I thought also.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You can take it in that sense also. Yeah. Okay. So now we go. What's the time? Oh, it's already 8:37. So we are in the middle of a para, and we have got still about 5 or 6 lines to go. Little more than that, 10 lines. So Suki, note down. Whoever is subject to grief and sorrow. We'll take it up next.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So whoever is subject to grief and sorrow. Middle of the para.
Merci beaucoup.
Bonne journée, everyone.
Bonne journée.
Au revoir. Merci.
Merci beaucoup.